Hello and welcome to Bad Backs and Backlogs. This is the first episode after a major hiatus. I had a really busy release schedule. As you would know, if you've been subbed to the channel, you would have seen a lot of stuff coming through. But we're in 2024 now, and I'm with my co-host here.
Hello, it's John back again.
And we're going to be talking about our gaming goals for 2024. Now, we have been playing a game together. John and I have. We've been playing Warframe. Now, John is the most... I would say experienced person with Warframe out of the two of us.
Yes.
He's definitely played more. I've been really enjoying it. It's a space ninja MMO light type thing, third person action shooter.
It's just space ninjas in space shooting everything that moves and getting just looting nonstop. Fantastic fun.
You know, it's I've been planning to do a lot of MMO stuff for the next year, and something that I really like about Warframe specifically is that the gameplay loop kind of covers up a lot of the what I call boringness of MMOs, where it's like go out, kill X things, bring back X things or whatever, which is important for because like when you're talking about an MMO, the most important element of an MMO is the social systems, right? Like that's the cornerstone of the genre. And so with Warframe, I feel like they do a good job of like getting the social systems to work while also putting you in a position to just grind out materials. Like what I mean is like if I was playing Warframe solo, I do think the grind would burn me out pretty quick.
Oh, well, I liked Warframe specifically because I didn't have to interact with the social aspect of it. So I specifically played Warframe because I really enjoy grinding games and also enjoy the gameplay loop. Extremely enjoyable gameplay, high mobility, has a lot of mechanics that make it so you are incentivized to kill enemies to get more resources, to level up more, to kill faster to get more resources. And that drew me in, and I like the fact that I was able to play solo and didn't have to deal with playing with other people. Later on, I started joining them, but the nice thing is because it's not forced interaction, you can just kind of like just play along with them, and the game doesn't force you to like have to talk or socialize with them. Which for me, as an individual who likes usually playing solo, that is more for me, honestly. I enjoy that aspect.
You know, and I think I've kind of noticed this just watching like Josh Strife-Hayes talk about MMOs. And one of the things I've noticed about the way he talks about them is a lot of MMOs, through a period of time, the ones that are still around, are really good single-player games with the option of multiplayer systems, right? And some good examples of this that I've thought about as I've just been thinking about like MMOs and possibly reviewing a few is Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV is a game I played with my brother back in 2017 a lot.
Yeah, you
played a lot of that game. 450 hours in 3 months, and that was on top of being my senior, like last semester of college, right? And what I noticed about that is sometimes I could play the game and just do something solo, and it was fine. It was designed around that, and I think Warframe's designed in that same way. But for me, with those type of MMO systems, I like to treat them almost as like interactive chat rooms with my friends, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see what you're talking about, yeah.
Because a lot of the time when we're playing, we're just kind of talking, and the gameplay is not difficult. It's just like just go through it, and it's fun, and you run through the level really quick, and it's just good in that way, I think. And I've been playing a lot of like multiplayer games like this because I've been playing Aliens Fireteam Elite with my brother, and it's that same type of thing. It's that one's not an MMO. It's just a multiplayer game.
Oh, yeah.
But I like the way that with those, I kind of get a little bit of that, like, sitting on the couch with somebody playing a game type experience, you know?
And then just chatting along as you play.
Yeah, because, like, with the MMOs, it's like they have those social systems, and they're very, very nice, especially if you're playing with someone you know.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's part of what I really, really enjoy about them. And with Warframe, I think one of my major goals for this year is to experiment with reviews, different genres, and I think I want to try like a MMO light reviewing that with Warframe. I think it could be a good one. I don't know what I would say about it, possibly like a new player's perspective should you jump into it now, because the game is old.
Oh yeah, and then you can see we were talking about some aspects about it that didn't age well, like how they still have like certain enemies, bosses that were made during the first production of the game that have indestructible phases that are just not that fun or interactable to play with, especially when you're a person like me who's played the game long enough that, admittedly, while it would make the boss trivial, I could one shot the boss easily, but we have to sit there for literally 2 or 3 minutes real life time watching this boss attempt to do anything and then finally stop being invincible, and then we kill it. And we've encountered several of those along the way, and it's not necessarily something that's like, wow, innovative boss design. It's
There was that awful one that we had to grind for some parts.
yes,
The one with the like tubes on his back or whatever.
Yeah, the general or whatever his name is.
Yeah, John's played this for hundreds of hours
the
and can't even
general.
remember the names
Well,
of the
because
bosses.
legitimately, because you don't like once you farm them because you can farm them from Warframe pieces. The Warframes about Warframes, the space ninjas. You have to farm,
Which are essentially the classes you play.
yeah. Each Warframe has special abilities. What makes the kind of game really fun is being like you pick one you like and you get to run around with it. In order to get them, sometimes you have to kill a boss and get the pieces of it. So I only know the bosses as much as I need to kill them for the pieces, and then I just, as you would say, fuck off and actually play the fun part of the game. So when we were forced to be like, well, Brian, we gotta farm this guy, he just had to sit there and watch me as I sprayed infinite damage into this invincible little tiny midget screaming until eventually it died. And then we're like, okay, let's do it 4 more times.
Yeah, at times like that, it's like, man, I there's so many, like, you don't want to just design a bullet sponge, but I actually think a bullet sponge would have been better, because at least I could have participated.
Yeah, because then you could at least see the fucking damage numbers
Yeah, I
going
could
down.
see myself doing damage, and the game came out in 2013, so that type of design I think is pretty common for 2013. That was the 7th generation. That whole generation was a mess for gameplay design,
Now, what we're talking about here is the star chart specifically for Warframe. Warframe, you have to, like, at the beginning stage of the game, in order to progress, you have to move along these little nodes that are on the planets, and in order to progress, you need to complete a certain amount of them. It kind of acts like a map. Like, you can't go down one lane until you defeat a node, in which case you can go further along. And that's where the game initially started. There's new content out there, but we are more intimate with the more older content because Brian's currently grinding through it.
Yeah, because we're based off of my time frame with the game. We're about 13 hours in, and we only can play random Sundays, Mondays, stuff like that. And it's one of those things where that part, like, it doesn't bother me because it's just a way of carrot on the sticking somebody.
Oh, yeah.
But when I compare that to like Final Fantasy 14, it was like Final Fantasy 14 had more variety of things to do. And I honestly don't know how you would design Warframe with variety in mind, because the whole point of the variety is the Warframes, which take time to get.
The Warframes, the weapons, and the ways you can modify them. It gives you interactability in that regard. And, of course, the end game, which is Barbie frame, where you try to make your Warframe look as pretty as possible.
Yeah, you've succeeded at that really
No,
well.
I have not succeeded. You have not seen a success case. The people who do it freaking make their Warframes look like a giant pixelated fairy. And you're like, what?
Well, I admittedly have not played with other people, but I have played games where you get to do the fashion stuff later on.
It's called Fashion Frame. Sorry.
Frame.
Yeah.
That's how I play Souls games. Fashion Souls. That's
Fashion
how I play them.
Souls, yeah.
That's how I'm playing Elden Ring right now, which is why I haven't moved on from my original armor set.
You didn't turn into the optimal gameplay where you look like Smaug with tiny legs.
Yes,
in the order style.
yes, exactly.
Dark Souls 3.
Talking about Souls games, I have a lot of gaming goals for this year, and if you've been following the channel, you'll see me putting out a lot of content for one person who works full-time. And I've been playing all kinds of stuff. And one of the games I've been playing in the background that I plan to do a review on at some point is Elden Ring.
Oh, yes.
Elden Ring is a good video game. It means it made complete sense to me why it won 2022's Game of the Year. And honestly, it's one of the best games I've played in a long time. I've only had 3 sessions with it, and I'm at like 12 hours in.
Yeah, and you barely touched the content of the game. It's so huge.
When I talk to people about my experience with the game, and I talk about beating Margit within 2 hours of game time,
freaking insane bastard.
Yeah, it's just because I'm a glutton for punishment. I sat there and I died like 50 times trying to remember his attack pattern.
Well, because you're like you actually parry him. Like I don't do parry gameplay because I don't have the patience to die as Brian did 80 times trying to learn the parrying. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you, apparently it works really freaking well against Margit because he dies very quickly when you're allowed to get free super criticals on him.
Not just super criticals, a lot of bleed buildup.
Bleed. Oh yes, too.
A lot of bleed buildup.
Which...
But in the final time I finally beat him, I had like 8 pixels of health left.
Oh yeah, I remember watching that, and so did he. Both him and Margaret had like literally a pixel of health, and it was just watching them like dance around each other. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I noticed what it was. I was like, I just need one chance, but I was like being careful because I have played a lot of Souls games, and I have died a lot being greedy.
Oh, everyone has. Everyone who plays Souls games has got that exact same moment. So I was
like, just wait. I know when this cycle is over, I'll be able to hit him one time, and that's all it's going to take, and that's what it was. And I beat him, and I was like, oh my god, that was so good. And then I did the other content you're supposed to do before him, and it was so easy.
Oh yes, in comparison to Margit, everything else is...
The game is a joke in difficulty in comparison.
Yes.
I've died, I think, at this point, 142 times in the 3 sessions, and like 70 to 80 of them are Margit.
Yep.
In my last session, I only died 7 times. And one of them, I ran off a cliff on accident.
That was funny. That was funny to watch. No, I'm every time I watch Brian play Elden Ring, it reminds me how much I enjoyed it. When I first played it, I literally did 2 play sessions in a row and had an absolute blast in each one. I did like a heavy hammer guy first one. Second one, I did a arcane build, arcane magic and bleed build, and that was an absolute blast. And I'm watching Brian play it again, and despite the fact that I think I put in 300 hours into the game, I'm watching him play, and I'm like, I can go for another 150 hours and really want to play it again. So right now I'm just biting at the bit, waiting for the DLC to come out, because that's going to be my permission granted to me from me to play yet again another 150 hours, and who knows how much more to play the DLC.
I need to wait for the DLC to put my thing out, and if that's this year, that's when I plan to put my review up. But my review is going to be a long time in the making because I am going to do like a competition review, like taking 2 of the best games that people call the best games of the decade so far, the decade being like the 2020s, and just putting them against each other to see which one is the actual best game. And that means not only do I need to platinum Elden Ring, but I also have to platinum Baldur's Gate 3.
I can't imagine trying. How the hell do you platinum a game like that has like 5 billion different possible options?
You remember when we were in high school and I would play like Dragon Age Origins, Fallout, and all that. We all played those types of things back then, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would have platinumed all of those games if I actually went for them because like I'm really close to them. It's just now they're so old and they're on PS3 and I don't want to go back and play. I don't have the time to go. I don't have the time to replay them for the platinum, right? But Baldur's Gate 3 is like those games, and when I'm playing it, I get reminded of when I would play those, and you just like, you play it, you finish, you start a new playthrough, you keep going.
Oh yeah, because you're like, if you're playing for me in Fallout Vegas, you're like, okay, I did the NCR, time to play the Legionnaire. I'm going to play Legionnaire, see how that plays. I'm going to play a melee drug-using Legionnaire.
Let's have fun. God, man.
And then you're like, the Fallout 4, you're like, I'm going to do the Railroad. I'm going to do this fight for the synths. Each playthrough is new, and you try a different build every time, and it's super satisfying. Mm-hmm. I can imagine that it can just fucking multiply with the goddamn Baldur's Gate.
Oh, Baldur's Gate 3 is honestly one of the better versions of these, like, Western RPG, like, choices matter type things, like BioWare type RPGs. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm playing a wizard character right now with Ryan, and we're doing it co-op, which is really fun. The co-op experience is fun. However, the co-op experience is a very bad, like, narrative experience.
I can imagine.
Because the problem is that, like, when I play one of those games, when anyone plays those types of games, it really feels bad if somebody doesn't make the decision that you want. And we've experienced this a couple times
yep.
where it's like, I really like all the decisions I've made, but Ryan hates some of the things that I've done to mess up the story, quote
and
unquote.
now you guys are stuck with each other's decisions.
Yes, because we vowed never to save scum. So if we make a decision, we stick with it. And that has led to some very interesting things. I have not finished it yet, but I gotta tell you, like, I put it as my number 1 game of last year. Every time I play it, I'm like, the gulf between it and the number 2 spot just keeps growing.
I need to,
every single time I play it.
Speaking of the actual point of this right here, that is part of my goal, is to actually play and finish Baldur's Gate and commit some actual time to it.
Oh man, John, I think you would actually really like the combat too, because the combat is genius.
Well, I'm looking forward to actually getting access to more abilities, because right now I'm playing a rogue in that game, because in D&D, I've played some D&D, and I really enjoy rogues because they have so many options, as opposed to just move and fire. They also have their cunning action that allows them to use their bonus action to do dashing, hiding, and other such actions that are really freaking cool. So I've got one set up right now, but I haven't gotten deep enough to get access to more class stuff, which I'm biting at the bit to get into. And I've only gotten to the, I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say...
You won't be for me.
Oh yeah, I got to the gate where the goblin horde is.
Oh yeah, you're not even that far.
I've barely touched it. But I'm excited, but the issue is it's like, I know that I'll have to commit hundreds of hours.
Oh, John talking about committing 150 to Elden Ring and then
Elden Ring is so God. Elden Ring is so freaking addicting though. It's like so easy, but like, one more. Yeah. And then you could play Baldur's Gate and you're just like, okay, I have to make the right decision or everyone dies.
Oh,
okay.
Well, I think what the problem then is that, like, just don't care.
Yeah.
Just make the decision that you think would be the best one, and whatever that decision is, just stick with it. I
think I was commenting on doing that with one game. What game was I playing recently that I was just committing to my decisions? Oh, sorry about that.
What did you just say?
I was just commenting on how I was like, there's a certain game I've been working on, just not caring about the decision. Oh, Cyberpunk. I've been playing Cyberpunk, and some things have had some bad results. Some things I've done so far have been fucked up. I would see as that. I'm like, oh, if only I did this differently. And I just had said, screw it, I have to accept it. This is my first playthrough, and I've been having a world of a better time.
It makes it so much better, because I did that in Dragon Age Origins. I would do that with Fallouts. It's like, those are games that are designed to be played again, right? Like that's the whole point of them. They want you to go in and make more decisions. And with the fact that, like, my playthrough with Ryan, he's like, every time we do things, he's like, this is not the same. There's a situation that I'm gonna be very vague about explaining, but like there was a situation where Ryan threw an invisibility potion on somebody we were supposed to defend, right?
Oh yes.
And I thought I memorized where they were. And so I tried to line up a beam so that I would miss them but hit the 4 next to them in a line.
Yeah.
But I hit their ankle and knocked them down. But they don't die. They just get taken away, and it drops this protective barrier over a town that then gets covered by the Shadow Curse. Right? And so this thing, and Ryan was so mad at me. He's like, how could you do this? You just failed 20 quests. And I'm like, but the game, the fact that the game lets you do that is so cool.
Amazing.
It reminds me of like Fallout 1 and 2, where you could kill literally anybody.
You can completely destroy an entire quest line at your own leisure.
And it didn't matter. The game was always beatable regardless of who you killed, because the game doesn't care.
Oh yeah.
And it's been a long time since a game like that exists. And I think
it gives you freedom of choice. Yeah. Like true freedom of choice. None of this stuff where they're like, you get to choose, little player. Either you get to do it yes or no, and then yes and no doesn't really mean anything, because either one you pick results in you progressing the same storyline. It's a false sense of choice.
Yeah, and that was like false senses of choice were something that came about in the 7th generation, I think, which makes a lot of sense because the PS3, Xbox 360, Wii generation was about like HDing, and games got so expensive to make that you just couldn't build multiple different paths to completion, I don't think. But like those older games, those 90s games, those were passion projects first and foremost, and then they were products second, right? And that's why they could go and say, well, you can kill literally any NPC in the game, and the game is still beatable.
Yep.
And I just miss that type of design, and Baldur's Gate 3 it is that type of design, so it's no shocker to me, having played it, that it was number one game of last year. That's really no shocker to me.
Oh, no. Players probably really appreciate that breath of fresh air. They're just like, oh my god, I needed this so badly.
And it's one of those things where it's like Baldur's Gate 2 won its Game of the Year for most people, and that was like 2000, I think. It's been 23 years since a CRPG like that won Game of the Year, and I think it's just like Baldur's Gate 2 and 3 were 23 years apart, made by completely different studios, but Larian, however you pronounce it, did a wonderful job on that one. And I already know, I've already started charting out my playthroughs to the endings I want to get, whether it's bad or good or whatever. And my next playthrough is going to be a good guy monk boy he's going to be a drunken fist multi-puncher, right?
Oh, you're going to destroy enemies in combat.
Yep. And
monks are so overpowered.
My playthrough after that is going to be a evil paladin.
Oh, yes.
Guy.
Oh, yeah.
Probably worship Baal Baal or whatever.
Oh, isn't that the Lord?
He was in the first two games, and he was like Lord of some darkness or whatever.
He is evil something or
evil something or other.
I guess I'll praise him as I beat the shit out of this random peasant.
I like the idea of pairing a paladin with darkness like that.
Oh yeah,
because
really cool, at least a paladin lets you be cartoonishly evil, because it literally is how you pray to your god, is by being cartoonishly evil.
I can't wait. I'll play a Dragonborn, because I've never actually played a Dragonborn like D&D type stuff before.
You get to use your fire breath or lightning breath.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
And because you're going to be evil, you can use it in every situation.
Yeah.
They're like, will you help this small child cross the bridge, or will you use fire breath? And you're like, fire breath, please.
I'll kill the child.
Burn the child. And you're like, why would you do that? Well, I have to literally do it because my god demands it.
I think the game would be like, well, I didn't give you that option, but okay, let's roll with it. That's okay. I guess we'll go with that one.
Yep.
Thank you for thinking outside the box.
Brian has chosen the murder hobo route.
Yeah, that'll be what will essentially be my third playthrough, because my first one with Ryan, that's my guideless one, right?
Yeah.
Everyone after that, I'm gonna do guides because I want to clean up trophies, and so for my monk playthrough, that's when I'm going to get all the boss-based trophies, all of the Save the Tiefling trophy, which apparently is very hard.
Oh, okay.
And Ryan and I have already failed it a billion times over at this point. So
I don't know what the Tiefling is. I know that it is a type of race, but...
they're the demon people.
Yeah, the demon people. Yeah. But there's a Save a specific one trophy.
Well, I looked into it a little bit. It's save all of them throughout the game.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And you have to succeed every time. And they constantly are getting themselves into trouble.
Hell yeah.
All the way into Baldur's Gate itself. So that's going to be that playthrough, and then all of the evil-based trophies are going to be the what is my third playthrough, and then my fourth playthrough is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be Tactician, multi-class every level, hardest mode playthrough. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be interesting. I've already started charting it out a little bit, because I know I want Action Surge, and I want Misty Step.
Oh, shit. Those ones really good. Oh yeah, because Misty Step is just effectively teleport, and Action Surge is just amazing.
Yeah, and you can teleport without opportunity attack, and then I want every person on the team to get a healing spell.
Well, okay, I'm just thinking about just like, this feels like you're going to go to like a buffet, and you're going to each class and like, I want that one, and I want that one, and I want that one. No, not that. That one's icky. Not that one.
That's actually what it's probably going to be, because I'm going to do that playthrough guideless, because the whole point of the playthrough is just beat it on Tactician. That's all I have to do.
That's all it takes. So you can be free with that one.
Yep. There's two trophies that I'm going to tie with that fourth playthrough. It's beat it on Tactician, roll credits, and multi-class every level, because you have to multi-class all 12 levels.
Oh. Okay.
So you get one level per class, basically.
Oh.
That's what you get. And you get to match the level. So, like, let's say I start as a wizard, but then my level 5, I get level 5 monk skills or whatever.
Oh, so you probably want to prioritize getting the characters. If you have very powerful abilities that you want later, you have to get them later if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sense. Then if I want, I also have to pick what class do I want to end on for the final boss fight.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the one I'm locked into. Well, actually, I wouldn't be locked into it, because I would be allowed to go to Withers after I've multi-classed the last time.
Okay.
You just can't go. You can't reset your classes until you've reached that 12.
Okay.
Because normally you can go to a character and say, well, I just want to reallocate all my levels.
That's nice.
So you could then go to him after you've finished it and say,
oh, that's so nice.
I
of them
want to
to
make
put
the
that in
character
there.
I want to make now.
That's so nice they put that in there for like, if you're doing a casual playthrough and you're like, let's say you pick the wizard and you're like, I'm not filling the wizard. I hate the spell slots. Give me something that doesn't use spell slots.
Wizard is rough, man. Wizard can be rough sometimes. It can be very fun because I have saved us many times with my skills as a wizard.
But you are literally just, I move and I fire a skill in my turn.
And that's it.
Sometimes literally the only interaction with the world.
Sometimes you do Misty Step to get out of there.
But that's it.
Right? But that's pretty much it. Shadowheart's way more fun. Because Shadowheart gets to do, she's cleric, so she gets to become a Beyblade, summon a hammer out in the distance, and heal people constantly.
So much variety.
There's a lot of variety there. And I can summon a giant freaking guardian totem that I can set next to whoever's weak. And if somebody walks in its cone, it gets beat up.
Oh, that's super awesome.
So, like, there's a lot of playability within Baldur's Gate 3 systems, and that, like, these are the clear best 2 games made this decade so far. Like, there's people who might disagree, but I think by and large, if you were to ask people who have played a wide swath of games, these are the 2 that are going to stick out.
Those names are going to be mentioned very much.
Very often. And so what I want to do with my review is I want to take them both. Platinum playthroughs of both.
And then smash them together.
Smash them against together. Fight to the death. What is the best game after everything is accounted for? But I need the DLC to come out. Yeah. And then I also... If the DLC doesn't come out this year, I'll probably add to my Baldur's Gate 3 one the Honor Mode playthrough.
What's that?
Iron Man.
Oh, no saves.
Yeah.
Does that mean
permadeath, no saves?
Oh, how would you do that?
It autosaves. So you can end your session, but you would have, like, if you could canonically game over.
Oh my god, that'd be so hard. You have to pick a class and character
I think
so carefully.
You would have to pick all of them carefully, and I suspect that you would need every character to multi-class into cleric at least once.
Because they need to be able to keep themselves
get a healing
off.
Spell, give themselves like an armor spell.
Because if they die, they're dead. They're gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have to permadie. So they can fall and go into death saving.
Oh, okay.
But if they permadie, they're gone forever.
They're gone forever. You can't go back.
And you can't save scum, which I am mostly going to try and not save scum through all my playthroughs so I don't get used to it.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, so far I've been trying to avoid that as well. I have not done... Though, admittedly, the game inherently has built-in save scumming because you just... If you go into an encounter and die, you'll just restart where you did before the encounter. So you can kind of just are forced... You're in a position where you're like, I'm going to keep retrying the encounter until I win. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just like game design, right? Like,
yeah, oh yeah. So, I mean...
You couldn't just canonically lose the fight and like... Well, I mean, in honor mode, that's where you would...
Yeah, in honor mode, and that's why you have it there. And that's why I think it's a cool idea. Also, it'd be painful, but that's the point.
I think after playing... At some point, you played a game enough where the best way to add replay value to it is one of 2 things. Speedrunning or permadeath runs.
Permadeath or any other form of self-restraint.
Yeah.
There's a reason why those ones are very satisfying YouTube videos. Whenever somebody does a Let's Play and they're like, I'm doing this Let's Play, but I'm doing it blind. And you're like, wow.
Yeah, because it's a restriction. One of my favorite game of all time, and you will know this if you've seen my top 10 of the 90s video, but my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy Tactics. And the way I play Final Fantasy Tactics now is I will take like a picker wheel online. I'll put all the jobs on there. I'll random 6 of them. And those are the only 6 I can use the whole playthrough. And I have to figure out how to get the jobs unlocked quickly because there's like an asterisk where it's like you can use jobs to unlock other ones, but you can't learn any skills.
Oh, that's how you handle it. Okay.
So... You've got to, you go through, you got to turbo out those jobs, get them unlocked so that you can start maximizing your skill combinations. And I found that this makes, for someone like me who's played the game a lot, it's the way that makes it the most enjoyable because it means that now I have to think about my combinations and come up with something cool, especially since I also make it an Iron Man playthrough. So if I which I've played the game so much, it doesn't bother to me if I lose. It doesn't matter. At some point, you played a game enough that beating the game is not the point anymore. It's just playing it.
Did you just turn your own game into a roguelike? Sorry.
It would be... What did you say, roguelite or like?
Like.
It would be a roguelike. Yeah,
it's not a light and then just...
Is roguelike randomized? drops, though?
It is randomized drops.
So it's not a roguelike.
But it has roguelike mechanics because you have one playthrough and one death.
It's just a permadeath playthrough, John.
Permadeath playthrough. I'll shut up now. No, the thing for me is like, so as for continued goals, for me, like some other goals for me, is I need to complete some games I've left unfinished. For example, I have not finished Breath of the Wild.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh my god. Yeah, I forgot you haven't beaten Tears of the Kingdom
Okay,
yet.
I got the first 3 temples and I got burnt out. Okay, I need to go back and finish it.
I think that's a good conversation. It's like, because our first podcast was about Tears of the Kingdom, the open world. The open world being good.
And here we are. I'm still not finished.
Yeah, you still haven't finished. It's almost been a year.
Okay, so there's the goal. I got to finish it, you know. But even now, I don't want to go back, kind of, because it's just like I know I've played the game enough that like at this point it just be a slog. It feels.
It's such a shame because not a lot of people watched my top 10 bosses of 2023, probably because it was spoiler heavy, and I made a warning for that in there. But Ganon was my favorite boss. 100%.
The reason why I'm trying to avoid is the thing is like I'm still in a position where I'm like a little burnt out for it. I don't want to go in there and then try to finish things up as quickly as possible and ruin my experience, because I've found that whenever a game gets into a position where I feel the need to like I need to rush through, the game is now a chore, and we're just gonna try to avoid that. I'm gonna continue finishing other games. For example, one game I've been working on is Tunic.
Tunic is fun. Yeah,
I've been enjoying Tunic. It's a cute little game. I absolutely love the mechanic that you have access to all the skills, but you have to find the pieces of the little fucking notebook. And for me, it's such a fucking flavor win because I had those games as a kid.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, the Super Metroid and all those other games had their little notebook that you just scroll through, and they had the fun little like character descriptions. I remember reading through those and having a joy. I mean, I love lore in games, and that was so fun as a kid, being like, "Oh, that's what that's called.
Man.
That's its name." And then they do it in this, and it's part of the game mechanic. It's great.
Yeah, it's such a cool game. And speaking about notes, I take notes while I play games now, and only if they're for content, just because it's very time consuming.
Yeah,
but it like makes me enjoy the game more, to be honest with you.
because you're highlighting the parts that you enjoy and talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy the games a lot more when I'm doing it. And one of the games I'm doing that for right now is the original Metal Gear from 1987.
Yeah.
Right? And it's one of these things where I think I could review the game right now. I played enough of it that I know what I want to say.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things, bouncing off what you said about Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, I don't typically have that problem with like rushing through and beating something. My typical approach to games is most games I will only play once in my entire life.
Yeah.
Right? I'll only play through it one time. I won't have enough time to replay it. So my approach is that like I either reach a point where I don't want to play it anymore.
Yeah.
Which was Power Wash Simulator earlier this month. I played Power Wash Simulator for 15 hours because my viewers voted that they wanted that review next. Now, I put the provision in saying if I didn't enjoy it, I wasn't going to review it.
Yeah.
I played it for 15 hours. I enjoyed 12 hours of it. And that's not me saying the game is bad or something. It's just me saying that like I got my fill of the game, and I didn't want more.
Yep.
And so I either reach a point where I have my fill of the game, and I just drop it. I don't want to play it anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
I can understand that, honestly.
And then I don't even intend to go back to it.
Oh.
I'm not going to go back to Power Wash Simulator ever again.
Power Wash Simulator I can understand, but I'm talking about games like, but imagine a game with a narrative.
But that's true of all things.
Okay.
Every single game is like that for me. If I get to a point where I am not enjoying the game, I just stop. Okay?
I can respect that.
And I move on. Now, if it's a game I like, my first playthrough is a guideless playthrough, and I'm just going for credits. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Once I reach credits, I'm done. I'm good. I move on, because you can't 100% everything either.
Oh, of course
right?
not. No.
If it's a game that I end up feeling very strongly about, that's when I go back to it to do everything. Right? And there's been a couple good examples of this, like, what's a recent one? Stardew Valley, actually. I played Stardew Valley for about 40 hours, and then I put it down for a month.
Yeah.
And then I picked it back up, and I like spaced it out so that I'd play 20 hours, play something else, 20 hours, play something else.
You're trying to avoid that burnout.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid the burnout, and it worked. The system worked.
I'll be picking something up. I've been doing that a little bit with Cyberpunk. I've been picking up Cyberpunk, Tunic, And I've been playing Call of the Lamb as well, and I've been switching
Cycling through, right?
and it's been helping.
Yep, game cycles. I should do a whole video about game cycles because
you should do it like it's
I like my current system. My current system for playing games has stopped all burnout, and it also I feel less bad when I drop a game now.
Because you have two others to support.
I have all these other ones I'm playing actively at the time, and it gives me a jumping off point. So for the viewer, I just want to explain the system really briefly here. I got 6 games I play concurrently at all times. And I try to make it so there's 3 single, 3 multiplayer. That's how I try to do it, because I've got 3 separate multiplayer groups. I've got John here for Warframe. Yeah. That's the game he and I have been playing.
I'm the Warframe guy.
He's the Warframe guy. And then Ryan and I are playing Baldur's Gate 3 right now.
Yeah.
That's our multiplayer game. And then my brother and I are playing Aliens Fireteam Elite. On my own, I'm playing Elden Ring, Metal Gear, and, what was the other one?
Oh, shoot.
It's Yakuza. Yakuza Kiwami 2.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Go through those, yeah.
Yep. I didn't even think about it, because that's a separate idea for content flow that I've been doing. But yeah, I'm playing all of these games concurrently, and the way I do it is I just kind of like... If I get to a point where it's like, man, am I liking this game or am I just burnt out on this game? I put it down for a little while and I play something else.
Yeah.
Because I've got so many options. And it also makes me feel like I'm, one, enjoying my time with the game more. In each individual one, I'm enjoying more. Because I have more time to think about them. And then also, I'm getting through my backlog. It feels like I'm getting through my backlog faster. I'm not actually getting through it faster, but it feels like I am because I'm playing 6 at the same time.
Yeah, because you're touching 6 games at the same time. It's not instead of me being like, I'm doing 1, then 2, then 3. You're going, I'm grabbing 6, I'm grabbing 6, I'm grabbing 6.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of the difference between like an assembly line backlog and like more like a passion backlog. Like I really, really feel like I need this experience today, so I play this game. Yeah. You know, because all of the games I've mentioned are very, very different games. They are not the same at all.
That will help as well. It wouldn't help you if you're trying to avoid burnout if you go from one game that's let's say Age of Empires. You're like, okay, and on to the next game. And then you select StarCraft 2. And you're like, man, I'm really tired of these workers. Well, let's go to World of Warcraft. Yeah. Damn, these workers are still here.
Well, that would be Warcraft, not World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft is not an RTS.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Well, actually.
I've committed a gaming sin.
You have. How dare you?
I will do 5 Super Metroids and penance.
But make sure that they are speedruns.
Speedruns. Ultimate
speedrun randomized. That's what you have to do.
Oh god, speedruns randomized with blindfolded with the Zelda version.
Oh god,
into it.
Yeah.
Oh, those are amazing.
That's what you're gonna have to do. But that's the way I've been approaching it, and honestly, that's the way I kind of recommend people approach their backlog, especially if it's so extensive, right? Because sometimes you really, really like a game, and you get in your mindset saying, like, do I actually like this, or should I move on? And I think a lot of people move on because they have that unending backlog. We all have it. We all have the infinite backlog, right?
Because there's so many games, and there's so many good ones.
There's so many good ones, and it gets worse when you care about playing, like, vintage games like I do.
Oh, yeah, that makes it way worse.
It makes it so worse, because there's so many more back there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, if you do it this way and you're like, why do I actually not like this game? Put it down, play something else for a little bit, think about it, go back to it, and if you still don't like it, then you don't like it. That's what happened with Power Wash Simulator for me.
Yeah,
I did a session, I was like, I'm getting kind of bored of this. I was paying more attention to the YouTube I put in the background than the game itself. And I was like, well, I'll put it down for a little bit. And I played the rest of Kiwami really quick, which is Yakuza Kiwami. And then I went back to it and I did like an hour session, and I was like, no, I really just don't like this game that much. Well, it's not even that I don't like it. It's just that, like, I'm done with this. I have had everything I want from it, and I don't want it anymore. You know?
Yeah.
So, reaching credits, I think is very important. When I have kids, I want them to reach credits on games, because I don't want them to, like, just drop something the first time that they get difficulty, or the first time where it's like, I'm getting bored of this thing. I want them to know that, like, it might not be boredom. It might just be you need a break for a second.
Yeah.
Come back to it after you've had a break. And so I want that's kind of how my system works, and it allows me then to work in maybe replaying something else a little bit. Like John and I have talked about playing the Metal Gear Solid series through.
Oh, I have not played. I myself have not played Metal Gear Solid. I played Metal Gear Solid 5, the first half, and that was a blast. But I have not touched the original games, which means I'm really excited to play with Brian.
And I have never actually played the originals all the way through. I played like half. Actually, no. I think I played a fourth of the way through MGS back in high school.
Yeah.
And then I played half of MGS 2 during COVID. And I played 15 minutes of MGS 3. So I didn't play MGS 3.
That's nothing, yeah.
That's nothing. And then I played 60 hours of MGS 5, and I don't even know how close I was to the ending because I skipped all the cutscenes.
Oh my god, the game is... I got to the halfway point, and they were like, there's more game, but it's the same thing as the first half, but now there's like maybe twice, like a little bit more difficult enemies. And I'm like...
It's a great gameplay game, though.
Oh my god, the gameplay loop was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I love sneaky games. I love sneaky.
I think that game needed one more year of development. That's what it needed.
Oh,
and it
perfect.
probably would have been one of the best games ever made.
Oh, yeah.
And I still think it's one of the best games of the 2010s, and it's not even finished.
Oh, yeah, it's super fun.
And there's a history of really great games that weren't finished, like Super Mario 64. But the original 3 MGS games and the 2 Metal Gear games, they seem like finished products. Like, I've watched Metal Gear Solid all the way through with my brothers. I watched my brother play. I watched my dad play it all the way through. I think it'll be fun to play it together and have you experience it for the first time, especially with the old graphics, because that's what we're playing with.
That's fine by me.
And I did like 15 minutes just to kind of get a feel for the controls again, see how well they like how I feel about them.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, I feel pretty good about the game, honestly, after playing it. I think as I get older, I kind of like games that play differently than anything I've played before. And MGS doesn't play like anything else. So...
Well, I'm a fan of something being different as long as it's not painful to control. For example, the tank controls of the older Resident Evil games.
I honestly, people will complain about those a lot, but I think a lot of those complaints come from people playing like 2 minutes and then dropping it, which is fair if
Honestly,
you don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I think those things are actually easy to get used to. They designed the early part of the game with Resident Evil 1, for instance, specifically without combat in the first part because they want you to get used to switching camera angles and the flow of that movement system, right? And I think it's one of those things where it's like, is it as buttery smooth as like Resident Evil 4 Remake? No.
Oh, of course
no,
not,
it's not. But it's not supposed to be.
No.
It was supposed to be clunky because you're supposed to feel fear in that game, and one of the best ways to make somebody feel fear is having them know they move like sluggishly, with enemies that will kill them very quickly. And knowing that, it's like people will play a little bit more carefully. They will be more conscious of the movements that they're making, and as such, I personally like those type of games. I go out of my way to play those type of games, and I still enjoy them. MGS is isometric, but it is not tank controlled. Well, it's tough because I think it actually is, but it doesn't feel that way.
Okay, as long as
because when you press up, you're moving up relative to wherever Snake is looking, which is tank controls.
Yeah.
But I think that makes a lot of sense to me, at least, especially since that like it's isometric, and I think that's the difference.
Okay.
It's because it's isometric, so I think it makes more sense the way that you run and turn and stuff.
We'll see how it plays whenever you play it. It's that's the only one I can really think of where recently. Well, that and Monster Hunter, where the controls were like such a way that I was just like I couldn't.
It's one of those things where it's like we've talked about Monster Hunter and kind of retrospectively in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was after Bloodborne. It was a bad jump. I went from playing Bloodborne, which is one that's extremely smooth controls, extremely quick controls,
but they're also familiar.
Very familiar. That too. That helps. Monster Hunter, though, went from that to some of the very purposefully clunky movement. The fact that any action you take requires you to put away your weapon in order to do it. So, like, if you want to run, your character who may be holding the tiniest fucking stick has to then stop everything they do, put the stick into the holster, and then start sprinting. And then when you go to pull your weapon, they stop sprinting, stand there, go into the animation, grab the weapon, and then swing it. And then when because I was used to playing Bloodborne, the boss would be in front of me, and I'm like, okay, now I need to attack, and I hit the sprint button because I'm trying to get closer as fast as possible. So my character would, in front of the dinosaur, go, stop, grab the weapon, put into his holster,
yeah.
and then rub his face against his ass. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't. I can't do this.
It's one of those things where I know personally when Wilds comes out next year, I'm going to play it because I want to give Monster Hunter another go.
Oh, yeah.
I think part of why I stopped playing, I got 60 hours in, I stopped playing. I think the reason why I stopped playing was twofold. I was in a really bad relationship at the time, and it was not the type of game that was worth getting in an argument over. And then two, and what I mean by that for people who don't know is I just had somebody who I was dating somebody who really hated video games, and anytime I played a game, it was going to cause an argument, regardless of what the game was. I was like, this one's not good enough for me. I don't, I don't want to play this. I don't want this to be the game that I'm committing time to and getting into an argument over, you know?
Yeah.
And then the second thing was that, like, I feel like at the time, I've always been really open to a variety of gaming experiences, but I think with that one specifically, I was also unfairly judging it because it was so hopefully different from anything I've ever played before that I think I was part of the problem when I was playing that game. Yeah. So I want to give it another go. I want to see if it was really me or if it's just that I don't like that type of game.
Well, I know you didn't like the grinding aspect of it. You didn't like having to kill the same boss like 20 times and waiting for a single orb to drop, and then you're like, oh, shoot.
That really was a big problem for me. I really, really didn't like that. But I think that part of that was that I was focused more on beating the game than enjoying the systems back then too. Yeah. Because back then I was doing beat a game, move on, so on and so forth. Yeah. And I was getting frustrated that I was being slowed down from that.
And that would make it so you don't enjoy the actual
game. And I wonder if since I've changed my system and my thinking of dealing with the backlog that I will just enjoy the playing more.
Honestly, that's a good way to approach anything you do is just trying to be in the moment.
Yeah. I think I really want to try that because I think that I could really enjoy the experience because the game playing itself was really fun. I thought it was different. You got to put the weapon away, like you said, but it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be a co-op game though too.
Yeah, it had cool moments, and I have to admit, it fully was. I was not in a good place when it came to going to the game, and also I went into expecting one thing, and it was nowhere near what I was expecting.
Yeah,
because I went in there thinking I was really into the Soul series at the time, and the draw was a game that lets you fight against bosses. And at the time, in my mind, well, Dark Souls was on the mind, and it has a very specific combat style, a very specific way in which it approaches. And this game did not do that at all. They have their own way of doing things. I mean, it's been there for a very long time, and they have their own system. I just didn't know the system. Went in there, and I was just like, this isn't like Dark Souls, because of course it's not like Dark Souls, but here we are.
We were also 22 at the time, so I think because it was the year after we graduated.
Yeah,
college.
it was
22, 23.
It was during my time in the USDA. I remember.
Yep. Oh, that was a terrible time to try and play a game like that.
Oh God, no, it was.
Yeah, so. And I probably didn't help with that. I didn't know anything about Monster Hunter, but I bought you the copy, I bought Ryan a copy, and myself a copy.
Oh yeah, the goal was for it to be the next multiplayer.
The goal was for it to be the game that got us together to play and stuff, and that's why I played it, and that's why I did that because I bought. It was expensive. It was $180.
Yeah,
because I bought them all. Pretty much the week after they came out. I bought all the copies.
Yeah, it's gonna be $60 still there.
Yep, and so to me, it ended up being worth it to me, the cost-wise, because Ryan and I really became close friends during Monster Hunter World. Nice. That's when we became friends.
And that's worth it, yeah.
And that's when I became friends with Justin, because he played World a lot.
Justin's so fun to play with.
Justin is fun to play with, just in any game, right?
Oh, God, he's a very good positive force. He is what you would want every gamer to be. Maybe not the part where he can be...
Not the part where he makes bad decisions.
Not that part, but the mindset, the positive mindset.
The mindset. He's like,
I aspire to be like Justin.
He is ride or die. You want to play the hardest difficulty? You say, yep.
Even though he will die a lot.
Even though you will be picking him up constantly.
He will still have a blast.
But he'll play pretty much any game with you too. It doesn't really matter what it is. He played 14 with us. He played World with us. He played Rainbow Six Siege during...
that's a world of a difference.
He would play anything. I think for him it's more the community aspect he really likes. So
yeah. Very positive individual.
I since I'm gonna do a lot of MMOs next year, I want to touch back base with Monster Hunter World and Wilds, and maybe do like, why is it that I didn't like World? Do I like Wilds type thing or something like that?
Yeah.
But that's next year, and I have plenty on my plate for this year.
Oh yeah,
because I got to finish Metal Gear 2. That's this year. If John and I played Metal Gear Solid this year, those videos won't come out until next year.
Oh,
so
it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be fun. We'll figure it out. I know that in terms of games coming out this year I want to play, there's really only 2 on my list.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Dragon's Dogma 2. Those are the 2 that are on my
you've been
list.
excited about Dragon's Dogma 2 very much. So.
I reviewed Dragon's Dogma 1, which you can watch the review on the channel if you want. It's one of my higher reviewed videos, 2.9 thousand views, for the review of the first game. And the second game looks like it's going to be way better, because the first one had some rough edges.
Well, you were saying like it was a good they learned their lessons, and you're looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, and they have like some methodology for open world design that I'm really getting behind. No fast travel, minus crystals that let you teleport to certain places.
That's actually we talked about this in the past with like some games, like playing Fallout 4 in survival mode is a unique experience because you are not allowed to fast travel in survival mode. And you're actually forced to interact with the world in a mindful mannerism. And then you get to see, I've seen parts of the game I've never seen before because I was forced to travel in pathways that you normally would avoid because you just need to fast travel. So it's parts of the map you never saw. But in survival mode, you now not only are you paying attention to the world around you, because if you die, and you got to
go sometimes hours back. Yeah.
But you're also very mindful where beds are.
You keep track of it. You engage the building mechanic or the community system in Fallout 4 is so much better in survival because you need the water, you need the food, you need the beds, and then you also have to take trips to town to get anti-rad stuff.
Oh yeah,
because that matters a lot too.
And if
you have to engage with the power armor. You have to use the power armor because that's the only effective way to resist radiation.
Oh yeah,
in that mode.
Because every time you use a right-away pack, not only are you
you can get addicted to those.
You can get addicted, and you can get diseases. Your disease resistance drops every time you use it. And whenever you lay in bed to save, some of the beds give you diseases.
Yeah.
So as long as you're outside of civilization, you are constantly just building up disease and radiation and addiction. So the settlement system is immensely useful because you're able to make pockets of civilization artificially out in the wilds, and that is extremely satisfying. And if we want to go to the details, there's a perk that lets you share inventory between all your settlements, and that's amazing.
It turns a part of the game that a lot of players found useless into something very necessary.
So it can be a very good game decision.
It can
just remove. Travel.
I think we live in an age where it's like, why would you limit player choice in a game? But I think sometimes players make bad decisions for themselves, and because we're not game designers, so sometimes we make poor game design decisions. And I think that getting rid of fast travel, it can, if you're open to the idea and you're open to the positives of that thing, it can make things better. Because in their design conversations about it, they're like, you can still get around the thing fast. It's just there's costs to keep in mind. Like if you want to use a crystal, it's single use, but it gets you there right away, and it's expensive, right? You can use a cart, which is cheaper, but your cart can get attacked.
Oh.
Or you can go on foot, which means you can avoid battles, but it takes longer. And the only way to recover your health the full is to stay at a camp, which can get attacked, right?
Which can get attacked.
And they showed this really cool thing off where they fought this griffin, and they went to bed because the griffin flew away. And then the griffin woke them up.
And came back.
And it had the same health as before, so it was the same griffin.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it came back and attacked them. And they showed the carts getting attacked by ogres trying to take the cows, or the bulls pulling the cart.
Oh.
And it's I'm looking at this and I'm like, that's an open world right there.
Well, the world is actually interactable.
Yeah. Did you ever play survival mode Skyrim?
I've never played survival mode Skyrim.
It was a mod that you could get even on consoles, right?
Okay.
And I played it, and it improved the game a lot in a lot of ways. No fast travel.
Oh, yeah, I can see
That was already one thing. Now, you could fast travel with the carriages.
Yeah, because those are
They could take you anywhere.
but only the main cities.
Only in the main cities, and sometimes they could go to small settlements, but sometimes.
Okay.
Frost was a problem. You had to wear armor for warmth.
Oh.
Otherwise, you took damage over time.
That's really creative.
And so that made Dragon Bone armor actually better than Daedric armor because it was warm too.
Because it was warmer. Oh, yeah. Because that's always been a weird thing about playing a base game is that Daedric armor and Dragon armor are the same level, and in no way they are. Daedric armor is better, and you're just like, this is stupid.
So the way that I play Skyrim, if I ever do, which is very rare now, is I play expert difficulty from the beginning because it gives it like the right feel. It's like not too bad.
Otherwise, you can walk up to any enemy with a stick,
you just wash up them all.
and then you just beat them to death.
So it adds a right amount of danger to be like, well, do I really want to fight these people or not?
Yeah.
And then I do survival mode.
I can see that because honestly, if I go back to playing Fallout 4, because I have to tell you, those cravings are they're there. I'm going to play survival mode because it's extremely satisfying to play the game like that.
Mm-hmm. It is. So Dragon's Dogma 2, that's one of my big goals for the year. But then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one. Now, John does not play Final Fantasy games.
Nah.
So we won't belabor this point very much. I don't really like the first remake or the first part of the remake.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about this.
Yeah, I didn't like the story changes. But I talked to my brother the other day while playing Aliens, and I was like, you know what? I'm not really excited for what they're going to mess up from the story in Rebirth. However, I also have very low expectations this time around, so I think I might actually enjoy it better.
Well, you just do what we were just talking about, just enjoying the systems and just kind of like...
Because the gameplay was pretty fun in the first one. It was fun gameplay.
Yeah, you were describing that you enjoyed it until the story part came in.
Until the story part started messing out. But now, since I know the story is going to get messed up anyway, I'll just enjoy the gameplay, enjoy the boss fights, because those were really top-tier boss fights.
I can't wait when Mickey shows up.
Mickey
or Donald Duck's going to show up and save the day.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because the guy who made freaking
goddamn Nomura
Kingdom of Hearts is now involved.
Yep.
So I can't wait for the Star Wars character to show up and be like, "I'm here to save the day."
I've been a Final Fantasy series fan for a long time. My favorite game of all time is a Final Fantasy game. If I did top 100 games of all time, I think about 12 of them would be Final Fantasy games. I've been such a big fan of the franchise for a long time, but there is a new franchise I've been a really big fan of so far, and that's the Yakuza one that started this year.
Yeah, you've been describing it only in positive light.
Yeah, and that, I have a video planned for towards the end of the year that's like top 10 worst things about it, and after 2 games, I have one thing on that list. And that's like in the second game I played. So the first one was like, I have nothing bad to say about the first one.
No, that's good.
But like the second one, there's a lot of enemies that do knockdown effects. And that's my bad thing.
CC effects are useful for making it so you have to actually be careful, as opposed to just being literally just I spam buttons till I win. But it can
get really obnoxious.
If there's too much of it, it removes your interactability. And for me, whenever a game has things where they're like, you cannot interact with this, it is extremely unsatisfying and can actually break a game for being fun.
It's a little hyperbolic, but it did feel like pretty much every enemy could knock you down.
Okay.
And so that's a little bit hyperbolic. I'm sure it's not every enemy, but I would enter in encounters, especially towards the end of the game, and it felt like I was getting knocked down every like 10 seconds. No. And it was really, really annoying. And I'm sure like I could have played the game better, but like also, why would you put that many? Like, just hurt me more. Just hurt me more. Don't knock me down.
Yeah, just make the numbers go higher.
Just punish me by actually killing me instead of knocking me down. I don't like it.
This actually reminds me of the Blasphemous 2, where I'm like, I played the game, had a fun time, then the second to last boss, I literally could not interact with them without being like, quote unquote, get good at the game, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not gonna.
To be fair, like, I really don't think you would have had a problem if you could have skipped the cutscene. The cutscene is the killer, right?
Yeah, the killer. It's the moment that I'm forced to sit there and watch a cutscene and not interact, where I can't skip it, and then every time I die, which can happen in 2 seconds sometimes, I have to sit there, watch this guy monologue for like fucking 10 seconds. And I'm like, that's another 10 seconds of my life gone. And that's the same feeling you get when you get knocked down. Like, that's another 5 seconds.
And I spent more time in my loading screens for Margit in Elden Ring, but I don't have to watch that Margit cutscene every single time I die. So it doesn't feel as bad,
Yeah.
when you die. So things like that are really annoying, I think, in games. And I didn't even die once in my Kiwami playthrough. It really stuck out to me that I was getting knocked down all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like the Yakuza games, I play on the normal difficulty, which I expect is like the target difficulty for the designers. And I just, they're not hard. They're really fun. They have really great stories. And I'm a big fan of it. I will be starting Kiwami 2 soon. Which is a remake of the second game.
Okay, curious.
And so I'll be playing through the series, and you guys might have even seen my top 10s for them and my reviews for them. My review for Kiwami, I am working on it right now, and I think I'll have it done by the end of the month for you all. But yeah, the Year of Yakuza, that's what this year is, and I think that's the motif I want to go through for all my future years. I think I want to do MMOs next year. Like, just cover a lot of MMOs.
It's going to be crazy, because so many MMOs have so much content.
They do. I've been trying to figure out how I want to cover reviews for them, because I'm not stupid. You only have so much time in a year to play games, right? And if my last year total is to something to judge by, I have about 1,400 hours a year. That's it. Right.
Yeah, and some of these MMOs might take that entire time.
Some of them could take that entire time, so I have to figure out how to review them, and that's why I want to kind of test the waters with Warframe.
Yeah,
because it is an MMO light. I mean, I don't know how people want to call that game. I think they define it as an MMO. It seems like people in the MMO community count it as one.
Yeah,
and it feels like one to me.
Yeah.
I want to test out my review type for it. I want to review it after 40 hours and then keep playing it and review it either when I'm done playing it, or after 100. I don't think I want to play past 100.
I can understand that, yeah.
Because I just don't have the time. And a few other games I want to cover this year is I want to platinum Demon's Souls and Death Stranding and cover those two games.
For me, it's just going to be me just covering some of those other games. I need to get Baldur's Gate, the big name, out of the way. Actually enjoy it.
I want to talk about that more with you.
That's also why I want to be able to watch content related to it, especially I've been avoiding it at all costs. And I've done a pretty good job. And I think I've been spoiled on a couple things, but I've given my goldfish brain powers. I've been able to expunge that from my brain, which is nice. And then there's one thing that I've been on my backlog for a very long time that I need to work on. Literally, I just need to play a single game of Stellaris to the end.
Oh my god, dude.
I will sometimes get 5 hours.
That's on my backlog too.
Get 5 hours in, and then I'm like, I can't. There's too many things interacting.
You know what? I think I want to approach it the same way I play Baldur's Gate 3 whenever I play those. Just do it. Fail miserably.
Yep.
Just do it and treat it like a role-playing experience, you know?
Actually, that might be a good way to do roleplay.
I think I might try that out. But
that way, when you lose, it was part of it's a storyline, not just your failure.
Yeah, because when I think
our
about...
wonderful nation tried our best, took over 6 solar systems, and then we were consumed by a cosmic horror. As opposed to, I tried to play and I didn't do a good job with the construction, and the AI's not fair.
You know, it kind of... We were talking about history before we did this, and it like, you know, nations end. They just end, you know? And so if you...
speaking of which, America's next.
Yeah,
next
probably,
time.
actually.
Sorry.
Probably, actually.
You thought this was a gaming podcast. In fact, it's... No, it's... Sorry, Brian.
No, I talk about political things sometimes in my reviews, and people get mad at me sometimes. Like, my number one ending for the MK3 endings video was Nightwolf, and his ending is he saves Earthrealm, and he creates a space for his Native American nation away from... like everything else, and they become center on the world stage. And I'm like, that's a great ending. That game came out in 95.
Oh,
like, that's a great ending, right? And then somebody in the comments was like, this was a great video until you became woke.
I absolutely love it. Somebody's just like, you said something political, time to read.
I didn't even say anything political. I just said, I think it's really cool in the 90s that we started getting stuff like this in games, and like you can't call the 90s woke.
No, you can't
call the 90s woke.
No, you can't.
And so I put under there, I was like, I don't think talking about history is woke, but you do you, boo.
No.
So like,
no. So I agree with your thing with it. You just need to like literally just go in and just be like, what happens.
Yeah, I think we're old enough now. It's like I don't care if I beat a game. I just like want to be able to play it. And it's, you know, I like beating games.
Yeah.
But like at some point, it's like if you get too in your head about it, you can't enjoy it anymore, and you should just do it. Just play the thing, enjoy it. You might, make things worse for yourself, but I have noticed that since I stopped using guides and I stopped caring about completing the game on the first playthrough, I've enjoyed them way, way more.
Yeah, because you're focusing on the actual gameplay.
Yep.
You're not focusing on the end goal.
Yeah, it's the journey. It's just enjoying the journey. And I am now like at the point where it's like I don't care if I get a canonical game over. I don't care. Just it's done, and I could choose to replay the game if I want, or not. I've got plenty of things to play,
and you still have fun.
I still have fun, and it can still be one of the best games I've ever played. In my top 100 of the 90s, I was looking through it the other day, and I have only rolled credits on like 45 of them on that top 100, because the 90s are hard. They're hard video games, right?
Yeah,
and then in the 80s, I only rolled credits on like 4 so far.
It took me so long, because I had so few games, like a lot of my games I played as a kid were like on the Super Nintendo. And this Super Metroid, I remember there were several times where I gave up and then came back, and then I tried it again, did well, got a little further, gave up and came back. Same thing with Pitfall.
My God, yeah.
Pitfall was so hard, and that one I had to give up a lot because that one's difficult. That one's is an arcade game almost. It's built to make you fail.
80s games weren't designed to be beaten, though.
Yeah.
They were designed to be played.
And then I think it was Super Mario World was just the extra levels tend to be quite difficult. So I had a hard time doing the extra star level.
Final Fantasy V is possibly my favorite 2D Final Fantasy game.
Oh.
When it was still 2D. I've never beaten it. You know what happened to me? I played it guideless, and I got to a boss that you need either a certain job or a certain item, or you need to be crazy overleveled. Well, those are the 3 options.
Oh, you got soft locked, didn't you?
I got soft locked.
Shoot.
So I had a couple options. I could have backtracked to go do something, like get the item I missed, because I just missed a box, pretty much. And I could have backtracked to go get it.
Yeah.
I could grind to level up.
Yeah.
Or I could grind on the job that it counters, because Final Fantasy V is designed so that bosses are counterable easily by jobs.
Okay.
And you can change your team comp to do it. But I was playing the PS1 version, which doesn't have any speed up mechanics, and I was like, no, I enjoyed the game. I love this game. This game is really good. And I lost. I lost because I played the game bad. And so I'll just accept that, and I'll come back to it later sometime. And now I have the Pixel Remaster, and I will platinum it at some point. And it's one of my favorite games of the 90s. It's been up there for a long time. I played it for 25 hours, and I've never beaten it.
And that's fine.
And I think that's fine. I don't think you have to beat games. I think that if you enjoy the game and you understand and you can like articulate why you don't or do like a game, that's good enough. There's a lot of games in my top 100 of X or whatever that I've never beaten. Now that changes over time. Like if it's the 2000s, I've probably beaten the game. If it's the 2010s, I've probably beaten the game. But the 80s, 90s, those games are tough, man. They're tough. Even like you think Souls games are tough. You go try to beat the original Legend of Zelda or Mega Man 2 or something like that.
Oh my God.
Those games are hard.
You mean we're just trying to move 2 pixels into certain levels is a challenge in of itself, not to die 20 times?
Yeah, and
or the platforming itself will instantly kill you.
Yeah, or if System Shock 2, you can hard lock yourself 10 hours in. If you forgot to pick something up, or if you misused your ammo. And to be quite frank with you, I think games could benefit from those types of systems because, they feel bad. Absolutely, they feel bad. But they create a story.
And also the success feels better.
The success feels better, and sometimes it creates a story. Yeah. When I played Final Fantasy Tactics as a kid, I remember that there's a particular, very infamous for people who played this game. There's a particular part in like Act 2, Rio Vane's castle. Okay. It's a particularly difficult boss fight in there. And it's a sequence of fights that let you save in between them, but you can't back out.
Oh.
So what happened to a lot of people who plays that game from the beginning is they save in the middle, and then they really can't win,
and
then they're bricked, right?
Bricked 'cause they can't
I bricked like at least 2 saves when I was a kid on Rio Vanes, right?
Yeah,
and
that's bad.
I remember that, and I remember as a kid I bricked it. I was a little frustrated, obviously, as a kid, but then I replayed the game. I just gave up and went back to the beginning and replayed it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think about that sometimes, and yeah, I've bricked saves as an adult on Rio Veins for my challenge runs because it really is a difficult fight, and I like it. It just makes it. I don't know. It just is a story,
Well, some games are built off of making stories as opposed to actually being beatable. A good example of that is games like Dwarf Fortress or RimWorld. They're literally built to make stories, and oftentimes only have just a token example of win condition, such as in RimWorld, building a spaceship is the token win condition. But at the end of the day, you could just keep playing until eventually your settlement is overwhelmed. Same thing with Dwarf Fortress. You just keep going until inevitably your country fails under some grandiose, or if anything, in a grandiose battle or death, or as a pathetic fart. Yes.
I wish game designers would do that again in the indie space or something like that.
Well, I'm looking forward to, because we've seen cases. Well, a lot of times whenever a game does extremely successful, a lot of copycats appear. So Baldur's Gate has succeeded amazingly well, correct?
Yeah,
so that does mean that we're going to see. Now, of course, they tend to be a lot of low quality ones, but some diamonds in the rough appear. Is a lot of the games that are trying to emulate.
I don't think they will, though, because that game is particularly complex, right?
Okay.
Because, if you're like copycat in Metroidvania, you can make a shitty Metroidvania pretty easy.
Oh, yeah.
You want to copycat a roguelike, you can do that pretty shittily, easily,
yeah.
right? It would be difficult to copycat a CRPG with choices matter and people not notice in the first 5 minutes.
Okay, that would be difficult. I would say maybe we would have it's just less production value along the lines of like they wouldn't look as nice, maybe, but maybe they'll try to copy the same system.
It was so strange to me is like, how can people not design games that look like they came out in the 90s? They have all these like pixel whatevers, right?
Yeah.
But they can't design a computer game from the 90s to look like a computer game from the 90s. They can't design... They have started designing like PS1 looking games, but they don't design PS2 looking games. And I'm like, there's got to be a market for these types of graphical styles. Like, you know how original Fallout looks, right?
Yeah.
We don't have any indie games that look like that.
I think we do.
What?
Railroad.
Railroad?
Yeah, Underrail.
No, Underrail doesn't look like that. It's more pixely.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
I haven't looked. I haven't compared, honestly. That's the first one that comes to mind, though.
Because like Fallout 1 and 2, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, they're pixely, but they almost look very hand-drawn-y too.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They're not. They don't look like they were entirely pixels. They look like they were drawn.
So that's Underrail. Sorry, we're having pictures right now, so you guys aren't aware. I'm showing Brian some images of Underrail. Underrail is an indie game that effectively looks like a love letter to effectively the same kind of top view.
No, I think you're right. This is more what I was talking about.
Very similar.
Would you send that to me? Because I've never actually played that.
I actually have I've been playing the game for a while. I've built a character that has no charisma or intelligence, and it is painful. But he is a meathead and will not die easily, so that's been interesting.
I just bought Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the original, 90s, early 2000s game. And I am hyped to play them. I looked at them and I'm like, this is nostalgic, even though I've never... that's part of what I like playing retro, like actual vintage games for, is I like the fact that I play them and I'm like, I have nostalgia for this, and I've never played this game in my life.
That is an interesting...
Because like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, I played 5 minutes of maybe. Because I got them on PC for 99 cents. And on a Steam Summer Sale.
Have you played Pillars of Eternity?
I have.
Okay.
But it doesn't look the same. And to be quite frank, like I like Pillars of Eternity. It currently sits on my top 100 of the 2010s. But it's going to leave at some point. Because like there are problems with Pillars of Eternity.
It's slow.
That a lot of those older games don't have. Like Fallout 1 and 2, I think are perfect from the beginning you start to the time where you end.
I would argue against Fallout 1 at least, because I know in Fallout 1 I kept dying in the rat cave.
Well, okay.
That was a skill issue, but I have to tell you.
It's perfect for the people who like the game, like that type of game.
Yeah.
You know, John, I don't think has played a lot of CRPGs, so...
No, I've played a few, but not as much as Brian.
Yeah, I played a lot of CRPG.
Okay.
So I like the instant I played Baldur's Gate 3, I was like, oh my god, this feels like a modernization of a CRPG. And I was like, oh, this is so good.
right after this podcast, I'm going to play some Baldur's Gate. By the way,
You should.
That's what we're going to be doing.
I know. I want to play with Ryan again. The problem is like if I was playing on my own and I want to wait until I beat it with Ryan, I'd play it way more. I'd play it more often.
You blast through it.
I probably would. And this summer, my goal for this summer, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, done. That's what I want to do.
For me, is Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring.
If
play
the
a game
if
of
the DLC came out.
If the DLC, okay, so if DLC comes out, because that's going to be my limiter, and play a game of Stellaris. Just a game, just a run, and I agree with Brian, play it till I die. Don't play it till I win, because that might never happen.
You know, one of my favorite some of my favorite games of Age of Empires 2 I've ever played, I played it, and like, I just played it like I was role-playing a nation, and so I'd get attacked by like 3 armies at the same time.
And that was part of the story.
And it was a part of the story, and like I'm dying out, I'm fighting to the last man.
Yeah.
And then eventually at some point all the villagers start dying, and it's like, this is when the kingdom would resign, right?
Yeah.
So you resign the game, and then you look at the graphs, you get to see yourself in your apex, and as you go down, and there's just a story to it. And I do this with civilization games. They're like perfect role-playing experiences. Another good example is like XCOM 2. XCOM 2, yeah. I beat the game. I definitely saved scummed on my first playthrough. But like now if I play it, I can just play the game. And I don't care if I win. I don't care if I lose. I remember that on the very last mission, I was perfectly fine with anybody dying, you know? So like I had John in the game. I had Ryan in the game. The only people on my team that survived was myself, John, and Ryan.
Pink Ranger for the win.
All the other people I brought died. And I had continued the story of my previous game where my brother died in the last mission and Cole died in the previous mission.
Yeah.
So when I played XCOM 2, I made it so that a personal rule that I couldn't put them in the game because they were canonically dead.
They're canonically dead. Oh, yeah.
And then, like, the only person that couldn't canonically die was me because I'm playing the game, right? So if I died, anytime my character died, for any reason, I had to reload.
I love that.
So, whatever that was. And it was, like, the toppest tier way of playing XCOM 2, and I would love to do, like, permadeath playthrough. Well, you know, we're kind of running long here for a little bit, so I want to talk about a few games. We started down this path with Demon's Souls. I want to platinum Demon's Souls. I want to platinum Death Stranding. All I want to say about Death Stranding really quick is I played it for 20 hours. I loved it. I literally loved it so much. I thought the gameplay was genius. And it's so strange. Like, anyone who hasn't played the game or played the game to beat it and didn't really think about, like, why it's designed that way, I don't think you'd like it because it doesn't look fun. It looks like you're just walking and delivering packages, and you are, but there's very few games I've played in my life where I have to use the full surface of the controller, where I'm constantly pressing every button. Death Stranding is one of those.
And I'm guessing by the sounds of it, you enjoyed having to do that.
I did. You remember when you played Metroid Dread, how many buttons you have to press in quick succession?
That's what I was trying to avoid, because that one is an example of a time where having my hands clawed over the controller is bad.
That's like, it's not that bad.
Okay, good.
But it's like the level below that.
Okay, good.
It's the level below that. You are constantly shifting between R2, L2, R1, L1, because they're like your legs and your arms. Right, and you have to balance your weight and stuff, and then you have to so your 4 of your fingers are constantly moving all the time. But it's not like Dread where it's like these fingers and both my thumbs are all moving at the same time, and then I also have to swing my other finger over.
Oh my god!
And then I got to hold the controller weird because I need a 7th finger mixed in here. You know?
It's absurd.
So it's not like that. You just need 5 fingers moving all the time. Okay. And that's the right amount.
I want to try it out. I actually have not. I'm completely unspoiled. It's not I've been seeking to be spoiled in that game or trying to avoid it. I just have not seen any gameplay. So it would be interesting to give it a look.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to play it. I want to platinum it. The other game I want to talk about really quick is Faith the Unholy Trinity. It's an 8-bit horror game. And John has told me a lot about it. We won't get too deep in it because we really are running for time, but you can expect this game to get reviewed at some point.
I'm just excited to see Brian get freaked out. That's all.
Yeah, I got to figure out how I'm going to record it. That's going to be an odd thing. I think what I'm going to do, because I don't have a PC yet, it depends. If I have a PC by that point, it'll be easy. But if I don't by the time I play it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a Google Meet, share my screen, and then that's how I'll get footage.
Okay.
And I think that would work. But we'll see. So, guys, this is Bad Backs and Backlogs. Just two of us this time,
Yep,
John
yep.
and myself, and we talked about what we plan to play in 2024 and just had a nice conversation. If you like the podcast, maybe check out some of the other episodes, and maybe check out some of my other content on Rail Deal Games. I post, well, at least once a week, but sometimes 2 times a week. So
Yeah, man.
make sure you check out some of my other videos, especially if you like Mortal Kombat stuff, Yakuza stuff, or just general gaming videos. So I'm your host, Brian, and
It's been fun hanging out, John.
this is John, and we are out.